My air conditioning just kicked on. Can you hear that? Is that too loud? Okay, it just kicked on. It's blowing right out. It feels good. Hi, everybody. Good Monday afternoon, May 6th, 6 de Mayo, if you will, 2024.
Revenge of the 6th.
I'm logging off. I'm logging off. I'm done. You Star Wars people had your day on Saturday. You did. You had your day on Saturday.
Just like it is with Star Wars, things come in threes. Okay. Not only is there a trilogy, but there are 3 trilogies, and there are 3 days that commence: May the 4th, Revenge of the 5th, and Revenge of the 6th.
You didn't have to sit there at PNC Park on Saturday. And listen, these baseball teams, obviously major league, minor league, they have to put promotions out. I understand that. But the Star Wars, it's overblown. It's so overblown. There was a fake Darth Vader that came in from right field, and the Pirate Parrot, who was standing by the Pirates dugout, was on the scoreboard, quote unquote, lightsaber fighting him. And we could have had a cinematic, and it was kind of underwhelming. So Pirates, I appreciate the effort, but we could have done better. Look, Chris is holding up a photo. It's him, the Dark Lord himself. That's Lord Voldemort, but Darth Vader himself. And who is that? I can't see.
Boba Fett.
That is Boba Fett. Okay.
At a glow run that we went to Saturday night.
Glow run.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Marathon was this weekend.
Dude, yeah. That my wife would have been all, I don't know, neither one of us can run a marathon, but my wife is at least a good, she runs. She used to run a lot. When she was active duty Navy, she used to run 6 days a week, 30 minutes a day. And she used to run up and down Cowles Mountain in San Diego. So it's not hey, let me just go run on this trail. Let me go run up and down this mountain. She used to be hardcore into it, but now it's if we can do a 5K, we're good with the 5K. But anyway, football.
B-Phil's take here. What's your take on this? B-Phil says
I have my rankings. I'll save those to the very end of the show. We need to talk some football.
I mean, we'll get there. Is Chris a Sith?
We'll get
Stephen A says
we'll get there.
Let's indeed talk a little football. Rookie minicamp is this week. Happy rookie minicamp week, everybody. And the Steelers still have some places, some positions, some roles to fill beyond this week's rookies. Now, as you see by the title of the show, the options are running low. But Chris, where those options are running low?
Well, it's specifically at receiver, because it feels like every time we talk about receiver on this show, another receiver signs somewhere. Now, it's another receiver that we talked about as a possible option for the Steelers in case they don't use the trade market. DJ Chark was one of them. Odell Beckham Jr. was another one. Not that those two guys were ideal candidates for the Steelers or ideal players where if they were plugged in, you'd be like, you know what, that puts that position over the top. It more addresses a need better than what the Steelers have currently. So they wouldn't have been exciting additions, but yet still better than what they have now. And Chark is off the board. Beckham is off the board. There are more guys just going off the board. Now, not that they're signed yet, but Michael Gallup also off the board. But you got Jalen Guyton, who's signing with the Raiders. Zay Jones is meeting with the Titans, who was recently released by the Jaguars, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling is visiting with the Chargers. And so, and Lyle says we didn't need Beckham, but see, here's the thing right now. If you had a choice between Odell Beckham Jr. or Van Jefferson as your primary X receiver or your second outside receiver, however you want to define it, who would you rather have?
Yeah.
It's a pretty obvious answer, because it's not like any of those guys are going to cost a lot of money. So at least if they add one of those guys, at least, it's an upgrade over what they have, and it shouldn't cost a lot of money. But options are running low, as the episode of the show, the title of the show says. It's options are beginning to run low, and then you begin to wonder, is Omar Khan playing the long game here? Is he playing some sort of long con in the trade market in which he's being uber patient?
Mm-hmm.
and waiting until after June 1st to get something done with Brandon Ayuk or Cortland Sutton or DK Metcalf or T. Higgins or any of these other receivers that have been rumored to be linked to the Steelers via trade.
The most interesting name you mentioned there for me in terms of receivers that are looking to sign or are about to sign elsewhere is Zay Jones. And it's not directly because of Zay Jones. It's not directly because of Zay Jones. It's because now in Tennessee, given Calvin Ridley's there now and DeAndre Hopkins are there, there's a bit of a logjam at wide receiver. You mentioned trade candidates, right? Obviously, the home run swings are Ayuk, Samuel, and Metcalf, right? What if, theoretically speaking, the Steelers take a flyer on Treylon Burks? I'm not saying he's the second coming of Larry Fitzgerald. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that as a former first-round wide receiver who's being pushed out of a depth chart somewhere else and now doesn't most likely have a lot of trade value. You could probably, if you're Omar Khan, get away with trading a 6th-round pick for him. Why not take a flyer at this stage? He's certainly an upgrade over, in no disrespect to them, Quez Watkins and Marquez Callaway at the end of the depth chart. So at minimum, what the Steelers would be doing just with that move alone, and I'm only pitching this because of the Zay Jones intrigue in Tennessee. If the Steelers can grab somebody like Burks with potential still room to grow, I believe he's still in a rookie contract. You'd have a receiver room of George Pickens, Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin, and Treylon Burks, and then you still have more room to go get that splash player. To me, that's a no-brainer call for Omar Khan to make. Now, whether Tennessee wants to move Burks or not, because again, now there's a logjam. If Zay Jones is signing there, then we'll see what the price is. Everybody has a price. And yeah, as Mark says, he would be cheap also. Like I said, give up a 6th-round pick, maybe even a 7th or a 6th and a 7th. I mean, I don't know what Tennessee would want for him, but that's a former 1st-round pick that really just didn't pan out. And obviously, I'd have to trace the timeline back, but this is coming off the top of my head. I believe Arthur Smith would have familiarity with him too.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about that, but I wanted to get to Mark's point here, a different Mark. Maybe we're stuck with what we have, he says. I feel confident in Pickens, Wilson, and Austin. Here's the thing, and I really highlighted this in my Chalk Talk, which is still currently atop the Steelers page, and it's not going to be there, at least atop the Steelers page, come tomorrow morning, because I will have a new Chalk Talk up on the other Wilson that the Steelers drafted. But I'm very, very hesitant to want to just throw Roman Wilson out there as your number 2 or your your second outside receiver. I'm pretty sure the Steelers have been pretty forthright about them wanting to move him inside and outside, but it's no secret that Roman Wilson spent, especially the past 2 seasons, the vast majority of his snaps in the slot. And it's mainly because, when it comes down to it, Roman Wilson, while he's got electrifying athleticism and really, really great speed, there's a big difference between having that and having the ability to separate. And if you're going to play on the outside, you have to have that ability to separate. Or if you don't, you have to have the body of a George Pickens, somebody who has a gigantic catch radius, who has elite body control, who stands a much better chance of making contested catches. That's not Roman Wilson. Roman Wilson is the same, almost identical size to Deontay Johnson, with actually a slightly shorter arms and smaller wingspan. So small catch radius, you really ideally, if you're going to play on the outside, have to have the ability to separate. And that's one thing about Roman Wilson's game that I'm a little curious about when it comes to how he can run routes when he's lined up outside. Whenever he's got to face press man coverage, how is he going to do when it comes to getting the separation? Absolutely has the potential to do it. And if he does, he could become possibly even better than Deontay Johnson, because I think he's more sure-handed than Deontay, and I think he's a better blocker than Deontay. But that's still a question that has to be answered, and that's not a question that's not an answer we're going to get until probably not even until they start playing regular season games. So going into that, just saying Roman Wilson can handle it, I disagree. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think Calvin Austin is somebody who you should just be like, oh yeah, he can do it.
Yeah.
To me, Calvin Austin's biggest strength right now is the ability to just run over the top of the defense. But that's a one-trick pony, and it's a one-trick pony that teams are more equipped for than they ever have been in the history of this game.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to find somebody else who has experience playing on the outside who can get something done there. And right now, the best option really is via trade. And so the question becomes, does Omar actually pull off a trade there? And if not, how else do they possibly do it? Because I would be concerned if the receiver room looks the way it does right now by the time they break camp in July.
To clear the air on correction, Treylon Burks did not cross paths with Arthur Smith at Tennessee. That was 2022. It was mentioned in the comments. It was the pick the Eagles traded to get A.J. Brown from the Titans. Wow, what a stupid move from the Titans. But anyway,
yeah.
Which it's funny, I'm reading up on a little bio on Treylon Burks from NFL.com, and the NFL comparison of all people is A.J. Brown. So like Treylon Burks out of the combine, 6'2", 225, unbelievable size, was unbelievably productive as well at Arkansas. Like, he just hasn't lived up to his potential at Tennessee. And I know he's sustained some injuries as well. The reason why I float that name out is because that's a lower end. It would be cheaper. It's more of a developmental piece that really hasn't panned out over his first couple of seasons. He would be entering his third year, still on a rookie contract. Like, I just think that's an interesting name. But again, to your point about not just Roman Wilson, but what the current makeup of the Steelers receivers room as well, it's very clear they still need to add at the top. They need to add somebody at the top. They need to add somebody to go along with George Pickens, not somebody to go along, no disrespect to him, but with Calvin Austin. Roman Wilson's a fine piece to this offense.
100%.
But he's not the whole answer to wide receiver 1/ wide receiver 2.
They need to ease him in, man. Like, put him in a spot where he's going to be the most comfortable. Not that Mike Tomlin seeks comfort at all, but there's also a way to be prepared. And Gracie says something here. They're not using Calvin Austin correctly. Use him like, I'm assuming you mean Tyreek Hill. Not saying that he is, but use him as such. The thing is that Tyreek Hill can line up outside because he's phenomenal at getting separation. He's a smaller guy, but he can get separation because of, again, electrifying athleticism and, top of the line speed. I'd be hard pressed to find a receiver that's faster than Tyreek Hill. So I do not believe that putting Calvin Austin in a situation where you can treat him as if he's Tyreek Hill is fair, because Tyreek Hill is you can't use him the same way because Calvin Austin's not the same guy as Tyreek Hill. He's not as fast and he's not as athletic, but nobody is. Nobody has that combination.
No.
Now Calvin Austin, very, very athletic, very, very fast, but he's still got to prove, and at least you have NFL tape on Calvin Austin to be like, how good is he at getting separation? And sometimes it's pretty good. Sometimes it's a little lacking. There's work to be done. Is there potential there? Of course there is. And he can continue to build off of that.
Travis brings up a point, and he says, I think even if there's a pickup of a wide receiver, it won't be till late June or early July, but if not, the Steelers will be fine without one this year. See, here's what I don't know about that, because it's being mentioned several times here in the comments, and Chris Davis brings it up. Maybe Arthur Smith's offense is to go run heavy, and don't forget about the tight ends. I can't sit here and say they'll be fine without picking up another wide receiver, but at the same time, if Arthur Smith is intent on using more 22, more 12 personnel, basically either 2 running backs and or 2 tight ends, then yeah, maybe they could get away with having either Roman Wilson or George Pickens solo out on the field. The thing that would concern me, and maybe this is like a little Matt Canada PTSD here, is you might be getting into a habit of starting to telegraph what you're doing. If Roman Wilson's out on the field in a single receiver set, they're going to run. If George Pickens is on the field in a single receiver set, they're going to pass. Like, I don't want them to fall into that either, which I don't think they will.
They won't. Yeah.
But at the same time, I see where the comments are coming from when it says, yeah, Arthur Smith uses a lot of big packages, a lot of tight ends, a lot of running back. I understand that. But also, and yeah, running 12 personnel. Like, if they're going to run a lot of 12 personnel with it's Najee or Jalen plus a combination of Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, and I would say either Michael Pruitt as a true blocking tight end, someone familiar with the system, or Connor Hayward, kind of as being that H-back, and you could kind of turn that 12 into a 21 if you really want to. I think Arthur Smith is going to experiment with quite a bit, and now the question turns to wide receiver based off of that. So, do they need another wide receiver? I still argue yes, even though they're going to run, or they're more likely going to run, more 22 or 12. But at the same time, I understand it if they enter the season with what they have right now and they don't spend more capital to get another wide receiver. If they're able to work around that, I think there might be a way, because you could play Pat Freiermuth in the slot, or you could play Pat Freiermuth wide. Like, you can experiment with that as well. So I think that's a good point to an extent, but at the same time, based on personnel they have right now at wide receiver, it's clear they need to add at the top of the depth.
I also think it's a little unfair. I mean, like, I keep bringing this up because, yes, we can look at Arthur Smith's track record and what he's done and the system that he's ran previously in his day, during his days at Tennessee and Atlanta, and think, oh, well, it's just going to be the same exact system. And most likely, yeah, it's probably going to be the same system, but there's still a small part of me that's like, you know what? I want to wait to see what they actually do. I want to wait to see what they're really doing come training camp practices, preseason games, to really begin to see what that offense is going to look like, because the league is in a situation here where you are starting to see some changes on the offensive side to try to stay ahead in the game of cat and mouse. Defenses had to get smaller and faster in order to better defend the wide zone systems. And now offenses are, you look at what Kyle Shanahan and what Sean McVay have done. They deployed wide zone systems for a long time, and now they're switching to more gap concepts to attack defenses vertically, because they're not as big in the middle as they used to be. And so now they're not as equipped to defend those gap vertical attacks on the ground. And so I'm beginning to wonder, especially with the way the Steelers trended down the stretch, is if Mike Tomlin had a conversation with Arthur Smith in the interview process, and he's like, listen, I like the wide zone stuff, but we need to have a healthy dose of gap stuff too, because look at what we did. Look at what both Najee and Jalen did. And so there's a small part of me that just wonders, like, I just wonder if Arthur Smith is going to start tweaking his system now too, because he wouldn't be the first one to do it. There have been other offensive minds in this game, the most respected offensive minds in this game, that are already doing that.
That's right. As Joshua says, the pendulum's swinging back to Smash Mouth. I don't think it's swinging
to a certain extent
all the way back to it, but now with an overcompensation, so to speak, of drafting for defense and signing defense in order to overcompensate for that spread offense, so to speak, now teams are pivoting. The offenses are pivoting because they're seeing this overload on defensive sides where they're getting faster and even smaller in some cases. So now the counter to that is beef up the fronts, get a couple of running backs that can run them over, and then you open up the pass. Like, it's kind of going back to, I don't want to say old school football, but it's going back to, let's say, like a dynamic in the early 2000s when you had all these running backs that were able to not only run you over, but run around you as well.
It's not going all the way back to old school. And I've actually had conversations with executives for other teams as well, not just the Steelers, but I've had conversations with members of other front offices and asked them these questions because I want to get more of a league-wide opinion on this. And I've just flat out asked, like, do you think this is going to go back to being more of a running league like it used to be? And the answer I keep getting is emphatically no. That there's still so much emphasis on the quarterback, on the passing game. And it's pretty much, it's not changing in the aspect of everybody's going to start becoming these run heavy teams that are going to line up in these old school formations. It's going to be, again, there are different ways to attack defenses. And the best way to do that, to kind of blend it, is they're not as big as they were up the middle anymore. They're not as strong as they were up the middle anymore. So attack them up the middle, which the best way to do that really is through power, duo, those type of concepts, which are gap concepts. You can still run an inside zone. You can still do a split zone and a couple of different things that can attack defenses up the middle. But gap is traditionally, and even now, the best way to attack a defense up the middle if you're going to attack vertically on the ground.
Mark asked, the schedule should be released soon.
Sometime this month, yeah. I don't know the exact date.
I think it's coming around next week. I haven't heard anything about when.
Try to Google that real quick.
Yeah, we haven't heard any. I haven't even seen a date for it yet, but I think it's coming within next week. B-Phil says the rookie numbers were released. I'll be honest with you. I was so consumed, I think is the right word, with Pirates this past weekend that I didn't even get to look at any of that. Anything related to the Steelers. And obviously it's been kind of quiet over on the South Side because the next real thing that's going on is the rookie minicamp this weekend. And Friday and Saturday are the days where there are availabilities. So, we'll be on the South Side. I will be on the South Side along with our new reporter, Amanda Godsey. That'll be a lot of fun. Amanda's tremendous, and we're excited to have her
Amanda's good.
joining with our coverage. She's tremendous.
Could be this Thursday.
Could be?
The schedule could be.
Okay.
I don't see anything official from the NFL, but based off of a couple of different sites, including Fox Sports, there is speculation that it's May 9th. I don't know for sure. I have to do more digging. So, but yeah, that'd be interesting.
May the 9th be with you, or whatever they say. All right, since we're towards the end of the show, what's your Star Wars power rankings? We can do this.
Well, Empire is the best movie. It's not a question.
Okay.
That's not really even a debate. If I had to have a hot take, I guess, is that here recently the prequels have been getting more love than they did around the time that they were coming out and even shortly after they came out. And right now the sequel trilogy is getting absolutely crapped on. Everybody hates them. I don't think the sequels are as bad as people say they are now, and I don't think the prequels are as good as people say they are now. I think it's not as extreme as that. My least favorite movie of the entire trilogy is Attack of the Clones, and it's just because I've never seen two people fall in love as painfully awkward as Anakin and Padme do in Episode 2. It's just so terrible. Every time there's a love scene between them, it's like watching. It's like forcing teenagers to fall in love, and it's just horribly painful and cringy to watch. I can't do it. I really can't. Every time I watch Attack of the Clones, it's I almost got to fast forward through those scenes. It's terrible. It's worse than having to sit through Jar Jar Binks. I'll put it that way.
B-Phil goes 5, 4, 3, 6, 7, 2, 9, 1, 8.
I would not put Revenge of the Sith over Return or hold on a second. I actually have this in my phone to show you how
you have this already mapped out. Oh my gosh, he really does.
I really do. So in order, it's Empire, Return, A New Hope. So the original trilogy, the top 3. Shocker there. It's can't touch the original, man. Then it would be Episode 7, Episode 9, Episode 3. No, sorry, I flipped these. Episode 3, then Episode 9, then 8, 1, and then 2.
Okay.
So that would be my power rankings. Revenge of the Sith has aged a lot better than it did when it first came out, but I still can't get over 2 parts of that movie that just make it so bad. And everybody who's watched Star Wars, and this will be enough for me with Star Wars. What have I done? That line, which I'm not even going to try to do it. And then obviously, no. No. So yeah, that was yeah. It's so bad.
Ruined return. Bob's got the Z's. Listen, enjoy your nap, Bob.
No,
we're allowed to. I know this is maybe contrary to popular belief, but we're allowed to talk about other things other than football on this show. On occasion, at the beginning of the show, at the end of the show, it's called banter. We're allowed to talk about some other things here, so we will.
There is one other football thing that somebody brought up that I wanted to address because he's still out there. He's still a free agent. Rico asked about Tyler Boyd, and the problem there is that Tyler Boyd is pretty much limited to the slot, and you pretty much have slot taken care of with Roman Wilson.
They drafted their Tyler Boyd,
yeah, and not only drafted their Tyler Boyd, but they drafted a guy who could probably become better than Tyler. And it's nothing against Tyler Boyd. Like Tyler Boyd, we're talking 3 or 4 years ago. Like, yes, you would love to have that guy on your team. And even now, like if the Steelers didn't draft Roman Wilson and would have signed Tyler Boyd to be their primary slot receiver, okay, like that's a decent get, especially for what the Steelers were offering him, which is less than what he was wanting, which is why it didn't work out. So, but I don't see a fit now, because again, if they get Tyler Boyd, you're either really, really limiting the amount of time that Roman Wilson can play, which you shouldn't do, or you're trying to move him outside. And Rico comes in with $10 and says, and which always much appreciated. And he says, so Boyd isn't an option at all. I don't believe so.
No.
I would actually be very, very surprised if they pursued him, and I believe they even made an offer. I don't know that for sure, but I believe they made an offer, and it just was not in the realm or in the ballpark that Boyd wanted.
To my knowledge, that's what happened. There was an offer made and the money wasn't close. So yeah, that's to my knowledge.
So that to me is the reason why I don't believe that that's an option. I really don't. I would, again, now there's not really a fit, because Roman Wilson is, whether or not they put him there in the first depth chart or not, Roman Wilson is going to be the primary slot receiver throughout the season. Unless he just comes in and is just absolutely god awful and terrible and just cannot play the position, and this turns into just a bust of a pick, he's going to be the slot receiver, because he's probably the best option that they have there now. And he's like, again, he's not completely tied to the slot. He can play on the outside, but the majority of his snaps will be on the inside. And that's where Tyler Boyd would be lining up. So it really doesn't make any sense to have two guys whose primary job is to play the slot.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you plan on running a lot of 14 person, or not 14. God.
14. Whoa. Hey, listen, hold on.
11. No, not even 11. I'm 14. Getting my numbers all mixed up, man.
Is that possible? 5, 6, and 5. Yeah, that's possible. 14. Yeah. Go heavy. You're gonna have
4 receiver sets.
Let's line this up. Hold on, Russell. You got
it's Monday,
Russ,
man.
Najee. And
it's
then
funny.
You go Freiermuth. Hold on, you go Freiermuth. You go Michael Pruitt. You go Darnell, and you go either Hayward or you rolling out Hot Rod for that one.
You want
personnel.
You want any kind of indication that I've been studying defense today and not offense? There you go.
Yeah.
Monday mixed with heavy defensive film has my personnel all jacked up.
Justin has become a new member. We appreciate it, Justin. Thanks for joining. Welcome aboard. Enjoy your emotes and have some fun. Gracie says, and I can't put this comment on the screen because there's a word that is not for children. Gracie says, just subscribe. Love the show already. You know your stuff. Gracie, we appreciate you. Welcome aboard. Hope you enjoy more of the banter. Hope you enjoy your stay here. Thank you for joining us. All right, how about this? Good question from Hornet. Tell him the odds.
I do love. No, so okay.
Do or do not. There is no try.
So I like the Star Wars references here while we're also talking football. This is good. I like this. Pittsburgh Hornet says, never tell me the odds of not picking up a wide receiver. Yeah, it's funny. Mr. CJ asks, new DK Pittsburgh Sports reporter who's getting replaced. Nobody. We're just going to be going hardcore on Steelers coverage, man.
And to be frank, this will, help me because I'm doing just about a little bit of everything.
Yes.
This will certainly help me, of course, branch a little more in the pit, a little more to Duquesne when it happens. It'll help me kind of dip my toes into more waters. We're certainly excited. Of course, Matthew Baldwin with Riverhounds as well. He did a tremendous job on Saturday in the opener. So we're excited to have both Amanda and Matthew joining us. Actually, we should get Amanda on the show soon too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Introduce her to everybody.
Heck yeah.
We should do that.
Yeah. I'm loving all of the Star Wars. While we're talking football, this is the perfect blend right here. So this is good stuff.
Confession, I haven't seen all the Star Wars movies.
Oh boy.
I'm not a big movie buff. I never was. Like, you can't get me to sit still and quiet for an hour and a half. Ever. That's my biggest problem. I can't, I'm too fidgety. I'm too neurodivergent. I can't do it. I can't sit still and quiet and look at the screen. And especially at a movie theater, I can't tell you the last movie I saw in a theater. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you the last one I saw in a theater.
Last one I saw was the Mighty Paw Patrol movie.
Well, you have kids, I'm sure.
I do.
When you have kids, I'm sure.
And even then, we don't take them to the movies very often. And even so, before, like, we took them to a couple of the last like kiddie movies, but then before then, I think the last time whatever came out second between I don't remember in what order. I want to say it was episode 9, but it was either Endgame or episode 9. It was either one of those two. Those are the last 2 movies I had gone to the movie theater to watch.
Yeah.
Before, like, because then there was the pandemic and didn't go to the movies all of 2020, all of 2021. I think in 2022, the only time I went, the first time I went was to take my kids to go see a movie they wanted to go watch. So
Mark says, I heard you asking a question of the Pirates manager yesterday. Yes, that was me asking Derek Shelton about, what was it about? Yeah. The offense doing something finally, I guess. Which movies have I not seen? Here's the thing, B-Phil, I can't even tell you. I can't even tell you which one. It's been so long. I can't even tell you which ones I have seen or not seen yet. It's been legitimately 8-10 years since I've seen a Star Wars movie. I can't sit still and quiet for an hour and a half or longer to pay attention to what's going on in front of me. I need pause functions. I need to get up. I need to look at my phone. I need to do all kinds of other things. When I watch a television show, even if it's like, for example, my girlfriend and I are currently watching Through the Office. That's another thing I haven't seen all of, but we're working on it. Chris is out. I got him. I broke Chris today. It happened. I broke Chris. I have not seen all of The Office, so we're working on it. Put your headphones back on, Drama King. It's fine. It's The Office. Look, I'm working on it, okay? I'm so happy you don't have the baggage, Joshua says. Listen, I'm not going to watch something just because other people are watching it. I haven't seen all of Ted Lasso either. I've seen the first season. I haven't seen all of Ted Lasso. I haven't seen all of The Office. I just haven't.
I think this is a good place to end the show.
I broke Chris today. Am I going to... Some days I like just pushing those buttons.
Rick. Love it.
Nice one, Rick.
Do you understand the reference of Threat Level Midnight?
No. No. I promise you, I don't. I haven't seen all the Back to the Futures.
Oh, Lori, I disagree. I love Ted Lasso. It was so good. Loved it.
I haven't seen all the Back to the Futures. I haven't seen all the Star Treks.
You really need to stop talking.
Just laying the cards on the table. I've never been a huge movie buff. Never been that way. Like, and I didn't like horror movies either. I don't do horror movies. I get nightmares.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap up the show now. But no,
this is a journey we're on.
Yeah. No, but we're let's see. Friday. So in 4 days, actual football activity.
That's right.
Actual football activity. Rookies in helmets and shorts on the football field doing things. It's actually going to be really, really cool. Yes, like still. It's actual football activity. We'll get to hear from everybody in the draft class. First time really hearing from Anybody who is not named Faltanu or Zach Frazier,
Sure.
getting like actual like having
In
like
person.
Pittsburgh media talk with those guys. So I think we're gonna have all hands on deck there this weekend. Rookie minicamp is 3 days long, but we got 2 days of media availabilities there. And so we'll have all kinds of coverage. So if you are not subscribed on DKPittsburghSports.com, you need to be.
Yeah.
You don't have to be either. The app is free, and you can have access to the Steelers feed in there, which is where all of the information is going to go. So yes, be ready for that. Be on the lookout for that. I'm excited about it. Rookie minicamp, actual football activity beginning. My roof might be getting done finally on Friday. So another step toward getting my butt up there so I can also be part of that. Mm-hmm. So yes, I am super stoked.
You have a chalk talk coming out on one of those draft picks, and I won't spoil who, but
I already said it.
Oh, well, if they caught it, great. If not, then they'll have to go back and listen.
I'll say them. It's on Peyton Wilson.
We could have gotten them to rewind and listen. You got to come on. Kawhi says British TV is good too. Great British baking show. Unbelievable television program. If you have Netflix.
So of all the things you want to watch, it's baking shows.
I like cooking shows. I like baking shows. I like learning something. When the pandemic happened, we were locked down. That was what I did. I learned to cook. I learned to cook. B-Phil, yes, I have watched The Dark Knight. I'm not that insane. Not that insane. Gracie says, hope Beanie Bishop learned the slot. There's a football point for you to end the show on. Maybe he did. I think we'll find out. And we'll get to talk to Beanie Bishop.
Some of these undrafted guys look too.
The running back from Georgia, name slips my mind. That's the one name that I'm really interested in.
Yeah.
That's the one name I'm really interested in. Corey's
William. But Beanie Bishop, like that's another really interesting name to me too, because it's just, they need a slot corner too. And so, not that you're going to get an answer. You're not going to go to rookie minicamp, see what Beanie Bishop does and be like, oh, we don't have to worry about that position anymore. Like we're good. Like that's not something he's going to earn until training camp. And even then it would be at the very, very end after a Jalen Warren type training camp in which he turns everybody's head and they're like, holy crap, dude, that guy can play. And, because I remember specifically that training camp because even in that first week and Jalen Warren's like, you're like, oh, okay. This dude looks a little different than the other undrafted guys, but it's a week. You're like, okay, the first week he looks really good, but then he just never stopped. And then by the time training camp was coming to an end, you're like, yeah, I think this dude's going to make the team.
Yeah, I think he's pretty good. He's pretty good.
So that would be the moment that you would find out if Beanie Bishop or anybody else like that is going to make the team. It's not going to be this weekend.
William, boys can bake too. Let's put it there. Pittsburgh Hornets. Here's a British Bake Off reference for you. Which draft was a soggy bottom? The Falcons was a soggy bottom. Completely fell through. I don't know why they drafted Michael Penix 8th. I still don't know why they drafted Michael Penix 8th. No reason to do it when you paid Kirk Cousins all that money and Rome Odunze was sitting right there. That was the soggy bottom of the draft. So if you get that reference, great on you. You have also been watching the baking show. How about Toy Story? Yes, I've seen all the Toy Stories. All right, we're done. We're getting off. We're getting off of here today. We'll be back tomorrow, Tuesday, May 7th, for more Southside Beat here on DK Pittsburgh Sports. He's Chris Halicke. I'm Corey Crisan. Thanks for joining us today for a little mix of football and entertainment, I guess. We'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers, everybody. Have a good one.